what's going on? Welcome back to the Ovens Garage. Today I'm going to be working on my 1993 Dodge W250, old blue, and I'm going to be upgrading the lug studs today. W250 trucks all came with half-inch lug studs, and I'm going to be upgrading them to 9/16 lug studs. So I'm going to be doing the fronts and the rears. There's two different part numbers for the fronts and the rears, but the lug nuts are all the same because they're 9/16. So here's the part numbers for the lug nuts, 611061. These are all Dorman part numbers. The rears are 610-283 and the fronts are going to be 610-563. The fronts are a little bit longer because they have to go through the front hub as well instead of just the drum on the back. So the back, you can get away with this, or you can use these as well if you really want to, but you can go a little bit shorter on the back. And then we have these 9/16 lug nuts. I elected to get ones that were actually quite big because the more thread engagement that you have, and these are actually about an inch long, the more thread engagement you have, the stronger that connection is going to be holding on your wheel. So a combination of these upgraded 9/16 studs with these beefy lug nuts is going to make it nice and strong all around. So I'm changing out the front rotors at the same time, but as I change out the front rotors, I have to pull the whole hub assembly out, and to change the rotors, I'm going to be changing the lug studs at the same time. And then after, I'll move to the back and we'll change the rear lug studs. So here's a quick comparison here. So we've got stock lug nut, that's the upgraded lug nut, huge difference there. We've got the front studs, front new studs, stock stud, and new rear studs. You could probably get away with using these on the front if you wanted to, but with these lug nuts, I need more length, so this is gonna work out fine here. So again, front, stock, rear new lug nut, old lug nut. Huge difference in the lug nut. All right, I've got all 8 new lug studs in here. I'm gonna smack them into place. All right, so I was struggling a little bit with getting those new studs in there, but what I ended up doing was using my high torque impact, and then I have this bearing pressing tool just to act as a spacer, and then I have the lug nut flipped backwards. And then I just drew it in to the point where it's just sucked right up against the inside of the new rotor, and that seemed to work pretty well. I was going to use the press, but I changed my mind because this actually ended up working out pretty well. All right, so we've got the new thicker rotor on there and all the new 9/16 studs and the caliper remounted. Got the oversized wedge key in there. So she's all back together. I'll throw the wheel on and I'll show you what it looks like with those big lug nuts on there. All right, and here's the after shot, 9/16 studs and these new lug nuts. These new lug nuts use an 1 1/16 socket, and I torqued them down to 140 foot-pounds since they're 9/16 studs. All right, so I've got the rear drum off, and I'm gonna smack these studs out now. All right, so I'm just going to give you an example of pulling in one of these studs using this bearing pressing tool that just happened to be 9/16 on the inside diameter. The new lug nut backwards, and then the impact. You'll sort of hear it bottom out, and then that's when you know to stop, or you can look from behind and make sure it's seated all the way, but here we go. This guy off. And do that on all 8 studs. All right, I just got the rear wheel back on, and here's the new upgraded 9/16 wheel studs. Also, I tightened these to 140 foot-pounds. All right, and now that all of the wheel studs and lug nuts are out, we can make a good comparison between the front and the rear. So the originals 1/2 inch are in the middle. The middle right is the front, the middle left is the rear, the far left is the new rear, and the far right is the new front. So you can see how much beefier and bigger these new lug nuts are, and you can see how the studs themselves a little bit bigger in diameter and also a little bit longer to accommodate those new lug nuts. So overall, this is a really good upgrade for your truck. Makes it a lot stronger. All right, so I just need to flip the truck around and do the other side, but that's just a brief overview of how to upgrade the wheel studs on these trucks from 1/2 inch to 9/16. overall, not too bad of a job. As long as you have a high torque impact, you can easily draw in those new studs into the hubs. But I think it's a nice beefy upgrade to make your truck stronger, and then you don't even have to worry about it. It's a great safety benefit of upgrading your wheel studs to something that's a little bit stronger. All right, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.